Un momento prego, la chiamano per una collettiva. Bleiben Sie bitte am Apparat, Sie werden für ein Konferenzgespräch verlangt. Un instant s'il vous plaît, on vous demande pour une conversation conférence. Un moment.
Pronto? Ciao Poppy! Adesso vi passo Chiara!
We're going on a tour around the world. It'll take a bit of time because the world's quite big.
È una conferenza telefonica.
It's a conference call where I give a strong spiritual thought that we can live together. When we call the zones and they answer, hello, how are you? So it's the life of a family. It's wonderful.
Meraviglia.
Its aim is to help us go on a holy journey, a journey towards holiness.
Hello everyone, welcome both to those who are here in this room and also to everyone who's connected all over the world. Welcome back to the Link Up. Finally, we're together after a long break. My name is Paolo. I'm from the northwest of Italy. I'm married to Barbara, who's sitting here near me. We've got 5 children. I'm a doctor and I work in a hospital. And in recent years, we've been working for the New Families movement, especially in the field of formation and also with young people. For example, we helped to start the Up to Me program, which many of you know about. It's a course of formation and accompaniment in the fields of affectivity, sexuality and harmonious growth for children, young people and their parents. This link-up comes at a complex and tragic time for the world because of conflicts, political and economic tensions and natural disasters. It's a time to stop and to set off again all over the world in this new year. This link-up is just 2 weeks after the meeting of those responsible for the movement all over the world. And this made us newly aware that we are one huge family on a journey in the midst of the many challenges of today. And we'll speak about this later, directly with Margaret Karram, the president of the Focolare movement, and Jesús Morán, the co-president. They're here, and we want to greet them already now. But to start with, let's go to Fiji. Do you know where the Fiji Islands are? They form an archipelago in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Try and look them up on the web. They're 3,200 kilometers from Sydney in Australia. And the Focolare community there has sent us a greeting.
Bula Vinaka from Fiji, the first country in the world to welcome the new day.
When the Pope, St. John Paul II, left Fiji in 1986, he said, "Fiji, the way the world should be."
His words were a prophecy that we are still working to fulfill.
We are delighted with the opening of the 2 Focolares, which encourages us to keep working together to realize this vision.
Thank you for that. You're fantastic. Of course, being part of a global family is such a gift that we all have. As in any real family, we live for one another, whatever happens and in all we're going through. Like in natural disasters, as is the case now in Pakistan. Fabian and Sumaira from Karachi will tell us the experience of the Focolare community there.
My name is Fabian.
My name is Sumaira. This year when monsoon started, all the Pakistanis are extremely happy because of the hot weather in Pakistan. But later this turns into flood and 70% of Pakistan from north till south is affected.
Then later we discussed in the Folklore movement what we can do in our own capacity. Then we had a number of talks with the bishops of different dioceses from Islamabad, from Lahore, from Faisalabad, from Hyderabad and from Karachi also. Then after having a discussion, we had a number of activities, and now we are planning again to do some activities in the coming 9th of October. And we wish to go along with the medical camp, as there are a number of people who are suffering from health issues, especially the skin problems, that people got rashes, they got suffering from chikungunya, malaria and dengue, and their life is becoming more and more miserable, and we wish to help them.
This possibility of helping is not our will, it's the will of God. Through Folklore, we know how to help our brothers and sisters in need. In this stage, I wanted to request all the entire movement of Folklore and all our brothers and sisters to help in this cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Samira and Fabian, for having let us share almost personally in what you're going through. In response to your request, the Emergency Committee of the Folklore has launched a fundraising appeal for Pakistan. Details of how to help can be found on the folklore.org website. And now, we'll hear from some young people. Let's open a space dedicated to the Gen, the young people, children and teenagers. Why have we specifically chosen to speak about young people? Because every time we talk about change, about the challenges of the environment, fundamental rights, peace, and the need for a new economy, young people are there, at the forefront, ready to give their all. Just as happened in Assisi from the 22nd to the 24th of September at the second Economy of Francesco event. Let's watch the report of Gianni Bianco.
For years they dreamt about it, organised it, and finally it happened. Having been postponed because of COVID, the meeting of the youth of the Economy of Francis finally took place.
But did COVID really stop us? As far as I can see, we are all here. Here there are 1,000 young people from all over the world, from more than 70 countries, and we have finally met here in Assisi. We got to know each other, we hugged, and now we are all together, planning a new economy.
In Europe, where all we hear about is war, these young people want to build bridges and not walls. Certainly they're idealists, but by being here together, they show that they want to make their dreams become reality. They want to change the world, starting with themselves.
In our opinion, change is what's happening in each one of us in all we do every day.
If we want to change the economy, and in doing so change the world, in my opinion, we have to start with us young people, and not also with us young people.
If they've come here from so many countries around the world, it's because they want to change that world by giving a soul to economics, making it more sustainable, inclusive, and aware of those in need.
We think that the moral quality of an economic system should be judged by how it considers and relates to those most in need, people who seem to be rejected. If an economic system manages to include the rejected, the poor, then it is an economic system that we like. It is one that works. In the Economy of Francesco, we realize that we must always have a positive impact on our environment, on the world, on nature, and on other people.
They've invaded Assisi, which has welcomed them as if they were her own children, and they feel part of the family of St. Clare and St. Francis, who together began to change the economy 800 years ago. Like Clare and Francis, they speak of peace and ecology. They want happiness and social justice. This is also what Maria Virginia was. She founded Farmo Francesco in Argentina, which is based on the economy of communion.
It was born because we, together with a group of youth, we gathered to brainstorm different ideas that we could do to respond and to take action to mitigate injustices that we lived in agriculture.
Varsha from Pakistan shared her struggle for women's rights. She was born in a small Islamic community where girls weren't allowed to go to school, but she managed to study and be successful in America.
I was never happy there because there was just a lot of inequality. As with every kind of change, and especially as it relates to women, there was a lot of resistance from the religious groups, from my family, my extended family, my relatives, everybody. But there was one support system that I had, and that was my father.
Renato comes from Brazil, where his brother and father were killed in street vendettas. He's brought into the world of politics his desire for change.
The world we see has been built that way, but what seems impossible today might be a reality tomorrow. There is an urgent need that despite what we see around us, a new world should come into being.
On behalf of everyone, thank you for believing in us.
From Francis to Francis, from the poor man of Assisi to the Pope of those on the margins of society, it's to him that these young people are sharing their lives. Andrea, serving a prison sentence, is here too. While in prison, he's building himself a different future through his work.
With this experience, I hope we can start thinking about a different way of running a prison, one that really helps people to improve.
Pope Francis listened to them, then encouraged them to look at the world through the eyes of the poorest people of all and to translate their ideals into practical actions.
You are here now. It's not only that you will be here tomorrow. No, you are here today. Today. You are not only what is not yet. You are part of what is already. You are the present.
We believe in this economy. It is not a utopia because we are already building it. And some of us, on particularly bright mornings, have already glimpsed the beginning of the promised land.
Those are the final words of the pact the young people signed. They're the first words of a world that through them can change.
That's really exciting, isn't it? Now is also an opportunity to thank all those who worked and who worked so hard for this event. There were so many of you, and certainly some of you are linked up with us now from your cities, or you'll see this link up later. A big thank you. Let's move on now to the teenagers. Thanks to the project Teens International, the young people of the Focolare have set up several editorial boards in various countries around the world. Let's now meet two members of the editorial staff from Portugal.
Ciao, ciao ragazzi.
Ciao. Olá, eu sou o Joel.
Olá, eu sou Joana.
I'm Joel. And I'm Joanna. Being part of this editorial team has been a valuable and enriching experience for me. We're able to contribute to a better world through articles where we have to work as a team and do research, participating at every stage from the initial idea to publication. It's been an amazing experience. For me, it's been a great opportunity. I like knowing I've done my part so that the voice of us young people who want to build a united world can be heard. In this report, you'll hear more about the other editorial teams around the world.
Grazie, grazie. Ciao.
Ciao.
I started writing for teens during the pandemic, when I was a bit bored with school and stressed out. I always liked writing, but couldn't find where to do it. And then teens came along.
Once, all of us from the editorial offices got together on Zoom. We had a lot of translators, of course. It was a fantastic experience, leaving us with this feeling of being worldwide. And we are united by having a common goal, which is to share all that is good.
Writing the truth, but with a new perspective, a new vision, a young vision, which is often ignored by the mass media today. A vision that is true and also positive. The Teens Project is a space given to us young people to communicate to other young people the things we like, the topics we're interested in, but in a different way, always from the point of view of love and unity.
Today, it's in several countries, here in the Southern Cone, in Italy, in the Philippines, in Kenya, Hungary, and Portugal. For me, the Teens Project has been a great place for growth, especially because it's a place where we young people not only do something for other young people, but also what is close to our hearts. We make choices, take initiatives, and above all, we are listened to. This is what I have appreciated the most over all these years. The thing that helped me the most was realizing that I love journalism, that I love having to write an article on a specific topic within a deadline.
The best experience for me was the opportunity to participate in an international interview with the President of the European Parliament, David Sassoli, in the spring of 2021.
The group work was very interesting. We each have our own perspective. We do not all have the same opinion on the various topics. So we worked in groups to discuss the choice of topics, what we could write about.
The most beautiful thing I found with Teens Project is that even though we are countries apart, we managed to have outputs in many different media.
Our intention was to accompany them, to discover together what communication means to them, and to be able to find together models of communication that we really want to spread, the ones they're dreaming of, the ones we're dreaming of, to be able to tell stories that are really worth telling. In this context, where we often wonder how to accompany young people, I believe Teens is really an answer.
For all the New City magazines that participated in the Teens Project, it is very important because it is precisely a way of challenging the new generations to be formed in a different type of communication, a communication based on values.
I was glad to know that my son was opening up to other aspects of life that teenagers often don't consider, namely the aspect of communication. I thought it was really amazing and an excellent experience.
We have our virtual site here where we post news and updates. And this also helps us with the whole virtual world. It helps us get in touch with teenagers from other countries. You learn a lot about writing, communication, and it's a lot of fun.
¡Acción! Gracias por habernos escuchado. ¡Hasta pronto!
Thank you so much for your fantastic enthusiasm. I was struck by something you said. I'm doing something that's close to my heart. Your passion has reached us all here, and we've seen what a wonderful opportunity this experience is for each one of you. Being able to share your talents at a global level, to express your ideas and make them available to other young people. Then it made me think that many of your tutors, who today are working as journalists, discovered their profession by starting to write when they were young. Now I'll hand over to Irene, who's on the Italian editorial team.
Hello everyone, I'm linking up with you from Holland, where I attend the Faculty of International Studies in The Hague. And if I've come this far, it's probably also because I've been part of the Teens editorial team for so many years. I started writing when I was 13. And besides writing articles with my classmates, I also used to write about experiences that happened on holiday, when I was traveling and so on. This year, however, I actually had the opportunity to travel on behalf of Teens magazine and to report on an experience. For me, it was the first time to be able to tell a story not just by writing about it, but by means of a filmed report that you'll now see.
The bells of the Basilica of the Nativity have just stopped ringing, and you can already hear the song of the Muezzin inviting to prayer. I've been in Bethlehem for a few hours, and the impact is very strong. The city is separated from Jerusalem by an 8-meter-high wall, and the graffiti expresses all the pain and anger of the people who say they live in an open-air prison. And it was here that I met a story of hope and future for the children and young people of Bethlehem, the story of the Harmony Among Peoples project.
Campus has changed so many things in my life through dance. It was wonderful to discover it because here in Bethlehem, we did not have all these things at our disposal.
I've been coming to campus for 5 years. I enjoyed the rope climbing with Gabrielle, the dancing, the movements, and the way the children are welcomed. This has helped me a lot for my future in learning how to treat people with respect.
For 2 weeks a year, about 150 children and young people participate in the campus organized by the Cultural Association Dance Lab Armonia, expression of the academic dance laboratory of Montecatini Terme in Italy. A real workshop of the arts, hosted by the association Children Without Borders in the John Paul II Foundation in Bethlehem.
The campus begins in the morning at 9:30 with a greeting to the sun, a prayer that we all make together, a non-religious prayer where everyone is included. From there we divide into the various courses, since there are also other professionals, and then there are many girls here who, being in the advanced course of the school, can teach the basics of some disciplines.
Perhaps one specific thing that this campus gives to these children is that it helps to develop their imagination more. The other day I was watching the small children playing. They played a spontaneous game in which there were weapons. There was a victim and the others were all involved. However, we bring different themes. Artistic games with music and poetry bring positive elements to the child's imagination.
The main problem here is that of language. At the end of the 15 days, I realized that in reality, there was no need to communicate in words, but the communication of our body, therefore of art, was enough. We were ready to give what we knew and ready for any kind of unexpected event. But in reality, what we found was a lot of welcome from the children, but also from the families with whom real relationships were born that are still cultivated. Honestly, I've been a big fan of this program since its inception. The Harmony Among Peoples campus offered a very beautiful idea, and I like that my children have a vision of the future, that they can continue on this path and develop their talents more and more.
These children discover through this campus that they can express everything they have inside. By discovering their artistic talent, they discover true freedom.
Today there's excitement at the campus. It's the last evening and everything is ready for the final show. Among the guests, there's also Father Ibrahim Faltas, the first person who believed in this project.
Finally, I saw our children smiling and full of joy. They've experienced difficult times. They've lived with the Intifada. They've lived with the war. No more war. No more seeing violence. These children need a better future, the one their parents also experienced. We're working for a better future for these children and young people.
Future. It's amazing how often I've heard this word in these difficult and beautiful days. It's what we all want, something not only to dream of, but also to build. In your personal journey, what effect has this experience had on you?
This project has had a very big impact in my life because attending the somewhat intercultural environment that was created within the campuses, I realized that the professional direction of my studio that interested me most was that in the field of international relations. So professionalize this area through the experience I had.
I always wondered if what I was doing made sense. If it really could be a drop in this ocean of suffering. The love that these people have given us this year made me feel that we'd had thrown something. We'd thrown a drop into this ocean. Here I must thank Chiara Lubich, who told me how to try to live with these people, to embrace them, and to journey together arm in arm.
That was very moving. To see in just one video that lasts a few minutes how complex the reality of this land is, with its many contradictions, and at the same time glimpse the beauty and richness of this experience. Margaret, the Holy Land, your own land. Who knows what you felt watching this report and how many faces you will have recognized?
I certainly recognized many. It was very impressive to see them. And it gave me great hope and joy, seeing that there are so many people doing good to support other peoples, that it gives to give them the courage to live in freedom and in joy. It really was very moving.
And now we move on to a time of dialogue with you, Margaret, and with Jesús. Many of us, through the updates from the Communications Office, were able to follow the recent meetings of those responsible for the Focolare. It opened with a beautiful letter from Pope Francis, and the process of dialogue and discernment led you to identify and explore three key elements of the life of the movement, which you want to share with everyone. First of all, your reflections on interior life and prayer, Margaret, which we'll have the opportunity to get to know and deepen in our communities during the year. And then about formation. Many sessions of the meeting were specifically dedicated to the formation of those in positions of responsibility on issues such as the movement's style of leadership and how to prevent different types of abuse. Then you discussed aspects of the ecological conversion that we need to make and the economic situation of the movement. For the first time, there was a presentation of the movement's balance sheet showing the communion of goods, and this is available for everyone to see on the focolare.org website. Now it's in Italian, but translations are being prepared. Jesús, could you tell us something more about the formation sessions and the subjects that you addressed?
Say something. I want to say that it was the first time we were meeting together, the first time that we were all together after the assembly, to be all together in person with the delegates of the movement around the world. It was a great joy for us. We wanted to take advantage of that moment in order to study and to look in depth on the basis of what's happened over the last year and a half in the zones, the very things that you were talking about. Leadership, the subject of abuses that has affected us very deeply. There's the cry of young people, of the new generations. We wanted to go into depth in a very special context, and where people from all over the world together in person with the key leadership, the delegates of the movement around the world and the General Council. We need to say one thing, that the program was a synodal work. These subjects were identified in a context of synodality, walking together with members of the council and the delegates together, and that the unfolding of the program was always along a synodal style, seeing how to progress. So it wasn't the center of the movement that gave a program for everybody, but we evolved this program together. I want to underline that everything was done in an atmosphere of great dialogue and with a very carefully worked out methodology. This was very important. I would say it was something new. In fact, also thinking of this a fruit of the most recent years. And some experts came to speak to us, people who were not members of the movement and also members within the movement, who made important contributions. So in real terms, it was a meeting held within this context of formation. This was something called for by the Assembly itself that took place in 2021. And other people were requesting this. People were talking so much about formation, training, but we never speak enough about it. And we had a truly formative experience discussing these different subjects. Now, the idea is that it shouldn't end with that meeting, but we should continue our formation throughout the movement in all its levels and all its places, every region, every country. Of course, it's not that nothing has been achieved in over all these years, but now we need a type of formation that is right for the times, that's in conformity with what the society is living, what the church is living, something very practical, very carefully worked out, and with better visible results. We've begun this. I'd like to emphasize, it's important to emphasize that this formation, what you might call a scientific formation, is extremely necessary with the right methodology and with experts. But for us, it's not actually enough. For us, our true formation or training, to use rather powerful words, comes from the Holy Spirit. We seek the formation that comes from the Holy Spirit, who is living in this communion, this fellowship amongst us. If we don't reach that level, we can't talk about true formation, at least for us. So therefore, this synergy this between an adequate methodology with expertise in line with the times, but also a very deep experience of the Holy Spirit amongst us, is a huge challenge. And I think that we could say that we truly had this experience. To some extent, we had it during the meeting, and we would like it to continue during the whole year everywhere.
Margaret, abbiamo detto prima
Margaret, we mentioned before these three key elements focused at the meeting. The third one, which became a very important feature of the meeting, was the considerable time you dedicated, also changing the program, to a deep sharing amongst everyone in a spirit of transparency, mercy, forgiveness, and above all, truth, even referring to wounds previously not expressed. It was quite a unique and extraordinary moment, as some said. Can you tell us what it meant for you and what it means for all of us, for the movement as a whole?
It's true, it was an extraordinary meeting for me too. And thanks also to all the communities, the Focolare communities in the whole world, who accompanied us with their prayers. I really want to take advantage of this moment to thank everybody, because they accompanied us with prayer, but also offering so much suffering of all different kinds. It was something very strong, very striking for me to be at Casa Gandolfo in that room, that meeting hall where we met for 2 weeks, and to feel that the whole world was there, the whole world, represented by the people who hold responsibility in all these different geographical areas. And as Jesús was saying before, it gave us such joy. There was this mutual joy in seeing one another again, because since a whole year we hadn't seen one another. So to see, I've seen people via Zoom or whatever, or online, but to meet together, actually to be in the same room, to get to know one another, to share spontaneously so many different things, but above all, to truly love one another. And there were times during the spiritual retreat, but also then the various talks that were given to us looking at these different areas in the 2 weeks. They truly helped us very much, but not only these, but also many spontaneous times when there were meals together, lunches, suppers, going out for a walk, restful times, but very spontaneous sharing like you do in a family. And I believe that all of this, both the spiritual part and the human part, helped us to grow trust and mutual esteem among us. And this was the foundation then which enabled us to feel freer. We were freer within ourselves, freer, and we had new courage and new determination, new daring to understand more. I say more because we still have to understand it better. that before all else, the person comes, people come before everything else, and then the interests of the movement. So this sharing that we lived in such depth enabled us to, allowed us to tell one another in very simply, but also with a certain amount of trepidation, to say many things that were personal, painful things that had been lived in the past. And this helped us truly to look at the present and to the future with hope, I would say, with humility. But at the same time, I felt that we looked to the future with determination and conviction that it's God who is building up the movement, quite aside from our failures and our limitations. And this was the experience we had, truly. And I hope that this experience will reach everyone all over the world, because it was an experience that helped us to grow in this mutual trust. We felt that whether someone is living here in the center or in the zones, in the most different geographical areas of the world, we are together taking ahead, bringing forward this gift, this great charism that God has given us, and that we want to put at the service of everybody.
But now, how are we going to go ahead?
How are we going to go ahead? As you said at the beginning, there is the subject. What we want to go into depth with in the coming months is our interior life and prayer. So I think that if we manage to go into depth in our relationship with God and to have this trust and confidence in Him, so that we can also share with Him, as Chiara says in the thought we're going to hear now, to tell God about our proposals, our projects, our resolutions, our life, that we can be in a dialogue with God. This will help us, because our life isn't only doing things. Our life becomes prayer, a living prayer. So I think that in order to go ahead, if we think what we lived during this meeting, what we experienced, we need to go ahead and to go into depth in our relationship with God. This will help us to love our neighbor, every neighbor who's near us, the ones who are living with us, the ones who are in our town, our nation, our peoples. So it'll help us be my recent experience after having gone into depth with this theme. The more I feel I pray, the more human I become. The more human I become, the more I can love others. So I'm more attentive to their needs, to their pain, their sufferings they might have. So I hope that we can go ahead like this in the whole world, being more human, more spiritual in our relationship with God, more trusting in God, and therefore be more credible. This is what I wish for everyone.
So now we can listen to this extract of Chiara that you've just mentioned.
As we know, our spirituality is both personal and communitarian. It leads us to extend our love vertically, as people say nowadays, towards God, and horizontally towards our neighbors. And keeping the balance between these two loves is what leads us to holiness. For some of us, it's easier to develop the horizontal dimension of love, and so there's a tendency at times to engage in constant activities rather than developing the vertical dimension. It's true that we usually direct all that we do to God. We love others for Him, we work for Him, we suffer for Him, we pray to Him. But if it's true that by continually making ourselves one with our neighbours, we have often reached the point of loving them with our hearts too, can we be just as certain that we love God not only with our will, but also with our heart? At the end of our lives, we won't be able to present ourselves to God together with others, with the community. We'll be alone. Can we be sure that in that moment, all the love stored up in our hearts during our lifetime will spontaneously pour out, as it should do, to the one we ought to have always loved, the one we will meet, and who will judge us? That moment will come for us too. And keeping it in mind, we should try from now on to improve our relationship with God as much as possible. In fact, we can love God as servants do, doing all that the Master wants, without speaking to him at all. Or we can love him like children, with all our heart, full of the Holy Spirit, filled with love and trust in our Father. This kind of trusting relationship leads us to speak with him often, sharing all our concerns, our resolutions, and our plans. We experience the trust and the divine desire that makes us eagerly look forward to the time which is only for him, and be in contact with him in a deep way. This is prayer, true prayer. We have to aim at this, to the point that we become living prayers. The theologian Evdokimov said something beautiful about prayer. He said it's not enough to say prayers. One must become prayer, be prayer, grow into being a living prayer. Grow into being a living prayer, be prayer, as Jesus wants, since he said, pray always. I believe that the hearts of many of us contain a real wealth of divine love that can transform our lives into authentic prayer, that can make us grow as a living prayer. We only need to make use of it at the right moment. So during this period, let's make the commitment to speak often with God, even in the midst of our activities. Let's try to improve in this. Saying for you before every action already transforms it into prayer. But that's not enough. Let's start to have an ongoing dialogue with him whenever possible. Only in this way, at the end of our life, will our love for God fall from our lips in words similar to those of the saints.
That was very deep and enriching. I'd really like to see it again. In fact, we will be able to see the entire link-up again, or the individual items, on our YouTube channel in various languages. Remember to click on subscribe and also on the bell. This is very important, especially for the coming weeks, to be able to receive the news that we'll publish there. You can also share your own news, experiences and updates on the social channels of focolare.org. These are all opportunities to build a sense of family. Now we've come to the end of this global meeting. You can see the dates scheduled for the link-ups until June 2023. The next one will be the 17th of December, just before Christmas. So that will be a very special occasion. But we can't end without once again assuring our prayers and our closeness to those in the world who are living in the midst of tensions and conflicts. In particular, remember the situation in Russia and Ukraine. We want to be united with people the world over in the religious and secular spheres who are praying and working for peace. And we want to join with Pope Francis in his appeal last Sunday when he said, "In the name of God and in the name of the sense of humanity that dwells in every heart, I renew my call for an immediate ceasefire." We too want to commit ourselves in every possible way to achieving peace soon. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you all for being with us.